Through you, Mr. Chair, I can confirm it is 4 p.m. and we are now live streaming and recording. You may begin your meeting.
Okay, thank you. I see that there's a quorum present of the Committee of Adjustment. Today's Monday, November 4th, 2024, and we can begin with a reading of the land recognition statement, please.
The town of Pelham is situated on treaty land steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Ha-Dewanderronk, Haudenosaunee, and Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. This territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties and is protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Today, many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island live and work in Niagara. The town of Pelham stands in solidarity with all Indigenous peoples, past and present, acknowledging that our high standard of living is the result of the resources and lasting friendship of the Indigenous peoples. Through you, Mr. Chair, you may proceed with your introduction.
Okay, thank you, Ms. LeGros. So 3 members of the committee here tonight. We have Ms. Sarko, Ms. Stan, and myself, Isaiah Bannock. I'll just begin with an opening statement here, and then we will proceed to some technical matters, and then we'll move to the first item on the agenda. This is a hybrid hearing of the Committee of Adjustment for the town of Pelham. Everyone present and viewing at home via live stream will be given an opportunity to comment on the applications being heard. Agencies commenting on applications may request that certain conditions be imposed should an application be approved. Voicing objections to these conditions will not adversely affect the committee's decision. The purpose of the application relative correspondence will be heard, following which the applicant will be given an opportunity to address the application. During the public portion of each application, we will hear from anyone wishing to submit verbal comments or submit written comments via email to clerks@pelham.ca. That's clerks@pelham.ca. Comments received following the public portion will not be considered. At the conclusion of discussion, the committee will render a decision and advise of any applicable conditions. Specific wording for conditions may be determined by the committee following the hearing. Copies of decisions will be mailed to the applicant and agent and to members of the public that have submitted comments. Notices of decision can also be obtained by request to the Secretary-Treasurer. Committee members are asked to raise your hand if you would like to speak and vote. And applicant, agents, and attendees are advised that they're free to leave the webinar or the room once a decision has been made on their application. Okay, so next item we have is the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda.
You second it. I second it.
Okay, thank you. Do any members of this panel have a pecuniary interest in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act in any of the applications to be considered at this hearing?
I have none.
I have none.
And none from me as well. Okay, any requests to withdraw or adjourn this hearing?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. The agent for file A34-2024P, they have requested a deferral at this time so that they can satisfy staff comments, and we expect the file to be heard in the future. A notice will be recirculated to neighboring properties. So to clarify for those in the room or who are attending online, file A34-2024P will not be proceeding this afternoon.
Okay, thank you. All right, I think we're ready then to proceed to the first application. The first application today is A18, which is 1522 Pelham Street.
Okay. I will start with our opening remarks. The Town of Pelham is holding hybrid Committee of Adjustment hearings. A hybrid hearing involves a mixture of in-person and remote attendance and participation. The following presentations are based upon the Town of Pelham's Planning Department report and analysis. Please note that no decisions have been made prior to this public hearing. All comments received from commenting agencies and the public have been forwarded in full to the Committee of Adjustment members for their consideration and will appear summarized on the slides. Decorum. The Committee of Adjustment is a formal public hearing requiring decorum, meaning all comments are to be made through the chair. If you have pre-registered to speak virtually or are participating in person, you'll be given an opportunity to address the committee at the public portion of the meeting. If someone ahead of you has made the same comments that you wish to make, there's no need to repeat those comments. Please keep all comments concise. If you are live streaming and wish to submit a comment live, please email clerks@pelham.ca. Comments must be received during the public portion of the meeting, otherwise they will not be considered. Inappropriate comments are not tolerated. If decorum is lost, the meeting may be recessed and the persons will be asked to leave. So our first file this evening is file A18 2024P 1522 Pelham Street. Excerpts from the planning report include: the subject land is located on the west side of Pelham Street North, lying north of Highway 20, known as 1522 Pelham Street. The application seeks relief from exception VC 125 maximum lot coverage to permit a maximum lot coverage of 64.34%, whereas the bylaw permits 50%. Exception VC 125 for maximum building height to permit a maximum building height of 13.72 meters, whereas the bylaw permits 13 meters. Exception VC 125 for parking requirements to permit a ratio of 1.14 parking spaces per dwelling unit of 31 spaces, whereas the bylaw requires 1.2 parking spaces per dwelling unit, being 33 spaces. Section 8.1.4, minimum front yard, to permit a minimum front yard setback of 0.27 meters, whereas the bylaw requires that the main front wall of the structure shall be built between 1 and 5 meters from the front lot line. Section 8.1.4, minimum side yard, to permit a maximum side yard setback of 0 meters, whereas the bylaw requires a minimum of 0.6 meters and a maximum of 1.2. To date, the following comments have been received: Building Division, C condition; Public Works, C conditions. No public comments were received at the time of writing the report. Minor variance test 1, the variance is minor in nature. Exception VC 125, maximum lot coverage, yes. The site maintains adequate amenity space for the use of future residents. Maximum building height, yes. The increase in height is not anticipated to have significant impacts on neighboring land use and is generally in character with surrounding land uses, including the adjacent 3-story mixed-use and residential retirement home buildings. Parking requirements, yes. Each residential unit has a dedicated parking space. In addition, on-street parking is available in the surrounding area. Section 8.1.4, minimum front yard, yes. The development is compatible with the downtown character of the site. And minimum side yard, yes. Reducing the side yard setback will contribute to a continuous street wall along Pelham Street, contributing to a more engaging and active frontage. Test 2, is the variance desirable for the development or use of land? Exception VC 125, maximum lot coverage, yes. The site maintains adequate amenity space for the use of future residents. Maximum building height, yes. The variance is desirable to permit the construction of a building with a massing and design that is typical in a downtown context. Parking requirements, yes. The site is located in a walkable downtown location with proximate services, commercial, and parkland uses, thereby supporting a reduction in required spaces. Section 8.1.4, minimum front yard, yes. The development is compatible with the downtown character of the site. Minimum side yard, yes. Reducing the side yard setback will contribute to a continuous street wall along Pelham Street, contributing to a more engaging and active frontage. Test 3, does the variance maintain the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw? Exception VC-125, maximum lot coverage. Yes, the increased lot coverage can be supported given the site's location adjacent to Marlene Stewart Street Park. The inclusion of private balconies for the units, a rooftop amenity space, and the landscaped area that will be located at the west end of the property. Maximum building height, yes. The residential use of the property is generally compatible in nature with the surrounding land uses, which include low to medium density residential and commercial development. Parking requirements, yes. More than one space is available for the exclusive use of each dwelling unit, and as such is anticipated to function efficiently. There is adequate public parking, including on-street parking in the vicinity of the site for visitor parking. Section 8.1.4, minimum front yard, yes. A shallow front yard setback is appropriate in this instance, as a shallower setback to Pelham Street will contribute to a streetscape in a downtown context. Minimum side yard, yes. The intent of the maximum side yard is to ensure there is adequate spacing between neighboring uses and to ensure there remains adequate room for drainage. Test 4, does the variance maintain the general intent and purpose of the official plan? Relating to all the variances, yes. The variances will facilitate compatible and appropriate development of the subject property. The redevelopment of the site will facilitate an inviting and pedestrian-scaled development. Based on the analysis, staff is of the opinion the variance is minor in nature, conforms to the general policies and intent of both the official plan and zoning bylaw, and is appropriate for the development and use of the land. Planning staff recommend that application number A18 2024P be approved subject to the following conditions. Enter into an amending site plan agreement with the town to the satisfaction of the Director of Community Planning and Development. Obtain all necessary building permits prior to construction commencing to the satisfaction of the Chief Building Official. Obtain approval for a driveway entrance and culvert permit as applicable, issued through the Public Works Department to town standards. The applicant shall bear all costs associated with these works. Obtain approval for a temporary works permit as applicable, issued through the Public Works Department to town standards. The applicant shall bear cost for these works.
Thank you, Ms. LeGros. Looks like we have a representative here on behalf of the applicant. Please come forward and start with your name, and we'll hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is William Heikup. I'm the planning manager with Upper Canada Consultants, representing the owner, Silvergate Homes. I do have a brief presentation, if I may.
Yes, thank you.
It's not on the desktop. Oh, I did, Nick did email one in on Friday. You never got it? Okay. Well, I can give her a verbal presentation then. Sorry about that. So the subject site was subject to a site-specific zoning bylaw amendment in late 2021 and found approval in early 2022 with a series of site-specific provisions. That development had a site plan agreement that was finalized, and that included 19 dwelling units and 1 commercial unit. The proposed development update in front of you is really a virtue of some of the financial changes in the world over the last couple of years. So the proposal has been revised to include 27 dwelling units and no longer having a commercial unit. However, the built form really remains very similar. It includes a 4-story building and has that same step back between the 3rd and 4th story, which is one of the main design components along the downtown Main Street typology. So that proposal continues to provide for a surface parking garage. So basically, the first floor is an entryway vestibule, and you're going to continue to see that street frontage. But in behind that is the parking area, and then the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th floor are the proposed dwelling units. So we are providing 31 vehicle spaces and 27 bicycle spaces, and continue to keep the same design typology. So through the town's comprehensive zoning update that happened after the site-specific zoning was approved, it was changed to a village commercial zone as opposed to a general commercial zone. Some of those zoning changes resulted in why we're here, but also the change in the commercial unit. The village commercial zoning no longer requires that commercial mixed-use component and now allows for the standalone residential components. So in terms of the proposed variances in front of you, the increase for the lot coverage, previously there had been 8 surface parking spaces at the rear behind the building that were uncovered. And now we have extended the proposed building to cover those 8 surface parking spaces. So that's the increase of coverage that we're looking for. So it's not like we're taking away any green space that we would have otherwise been providing. In terms of the maximum height, we are looking for an increase of 0.72 or just over 2 feet in height. And what that's going to allow us to do is slightly increase the height of each floor. And from a cost perspective, that will allow us to remove any bulkheads for mechanical purposes. So it has a significant impact on the reduction of cost in terms of routing of all those mechanical services and the additional framing work required to install them. In terms of the vehicle parking count, I think staff have done a good job explaining some of those changes, but we are continuing to provide a bona fide parking stall per each unit, and then there would be 4 additional visitor parking stalls within the parking area. However, I did want to point out that with the new village commercial zoning, we are required to provide bicycle parking, which we are providing 27 bicycle parking stalls for. I feel that bicycle parking, in addition to the downtown typology, the available visitor parking, and the proximity to all those commercial services, are a great rationale and justification for creating a walkable development. In terms of the last 2 zoning provisions, we're looking for a 0.27 meter setback from the front lot line. Under the old GC zoning, a 0 meter setback was permitted to the front lot line. So we're really looking at maintaining that original setback from the original approval, so we don't have to slide the building back further. And that's something that was in the old zoning. And similarly to the side yard setback, that was also permitted at a 0 meter setback in the old zoning. So unfortunately, those site-specific provisions weren't carried forward because they were permitted by the parent bylaw and didn't make its way into the new comprehensive zoning. So overall, that's the general explanation for some of the changes here. Overall, we're trying to make this development more cost-effective, and a lot has changed economically since the 2021, and so we've reduced the square footage of the unit sizes from about 1,000 square feet down to around 700 square feet for the one bedrooms. There are a couple two bedrooms and some smaller one bedrooms down at 524 square feet, I believe. So overall, we feel the requested revisions and the minor variances meet the 4 tests of the Planning Act and are minor in nature. Overall, the approval tonight would provide an opportunity to ensure a feasible project moving forward while providing alternative housing options within the town, but in an appropriate location. So that are my submissions this afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Chair, and I'm certainly here to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Mr. Hakoop. Any questions from the committee?
I just have one question in terms of, do you know what the front yard setback is for 1518, the 3-story building? Wasn't shown on any of the plans, I was just wondering.
Not off the top of my head, but I believe it's a very similar setback. It was constructed at the time when there was a 0-meter setback permitted. So don't have the number off the top of my head, but when I look at the drawing, they appear to be very close.
That's what I wanted to know. Okay, thank you.
Any other comments from committee? No. I just on the setback piece, on the front yard setback, since we were talking about it, I certainly understand the logic behind a 0-meter setback in the downtown, but I was curious, maybe it's a question more for Mr. Edwards. When we were speaking about the history here, what was the intent behind removing a 0-meter setback? If there previously was a 0-meter setback and then a smaller, larger setback was then required, I didn't really understand why that was done or the purpose of that, or was that just because of a zoning change that was done? How did that come to be between the old zoning and when the new zoning bylaw kind of came into effect? Maybe I can ask Mr. Edwards that question first, if you know the answer to that.
Sure. Through you, Mr. Chair, I believe that change was just made through the new bylaw coming into effect. I'm not 100% sure on the rationale for including a larger. Perhaps it's just related to the different types of permitted uses that the village commercial zone now permits, being some additional residential uses. So that, I believe, would be the reason that it was increased slightly.
I see, thank you. Mr. Hakoop, any comments on my question or responses to my question?
Yes, certainly. I think, I'm not sure for the reason for the change, but it's certainly an instance where we're caught between an old bylaw and a new bylaw, and the existing site plan agreement that's in place is in a legal non-conforming status. So technically, we'd be able to try and pull a building permit for that right now. But I think looking at the zoning schedule is kind of telling as well. This is the only property on the northwest side of Pelham Street and the Highway 20 intersection that is VC. Within that downtown area, the rest of them are the Main Street zoning, which has a little bit different provisions. And so that existing 3-story building to the south has that separate zoning. So I feel it is an appropriate setback considering that.
Thank you. Why is it zoned? Is that because of was it zoned that way historically, like as a carry forward when they brought in the new zoning bylaw?
Yeah, so it was general commercial, which all the
Right.
surrounding properties were. So we did a site-specific amendment for the old proposal. And then when they came forward with the new comprehensive zoning, they didn't carry forward those parent provisions that weren't site-specific provisions. So I think it was, to be honest, an oversight through the comprehensive zoning bylaw process that didn't cross-reference those provisions properly.
Right, okay, I understand, yeah, thank you. Okay, I have no more questions. Any questions arising from my questions from the committee? No? Okay, yeah, thank you, Mr. Hakoop. Is there anyone else in the room that's looking to speak to this matter? I don't think so. No? Okay. Anybody online?
Mr. Chair, we do not have anyone registered to speak online.
Okay. Did we receive any emails relating to this?
Okay, I can confirm it's 4:26 PM, and we have not received any emails. So therefore, we'd be looking for a motion to close the public portion of the meeting and move to committee input.
Motion to close the public portion of the meeting.
I second.
Okay, thank you. Any comments on this application from the committee?
No, I think I have no more comments. My questions were answered. Thank you.
Okay. No, okay. Notwithstanding my comments on the setback, I do think it, when I look at this building, and including the setback, and when I look at it, the variances individually and collectively, I can see how it makes sense. It meets the four tests of the Planning Act. I consider this in light of the existing proposal, the existing approvals as well. So I'm happy to support this application. I wanted to thank Mr. Edwards for your report and Mr. Hycoop for your materials as well. So thank you for that. It helped me understand the project. So thank you, and I think we're likely ready then to go for a vote. Is there any motion relating to this?
So I'll make the motion. This is file A18 2024P 1522 Pelham Street. Application for minor variances to permit a maximum lot coverage of 64.34%, a maximum building height of 13.72 meters, a ratio of 1.14 parking spaces per dwelling unit, a minor front yard setback, a minimum front yard setback of 0.27 meters, and a minimum side yard setback of 0 meters. The application is granted. The variances are minor in nature as the site maintains adequate amenity space. It is not anticipated to have significant impacts on neighboring land uses. Each unit will have a dedicated parking space with 4 additional visitor parking spaces, as well as on-street parking available in the surrounding area. It is compatible with the downtown character of the site. It will contribute to a continuous street wall along Pelham Street. The intent of the zoning bylaw is maintained. The intent of the official plan is maintained. The proposed development is desirable as the site maintains adequate amenity space. The increased lot coverage provides space for parking at grade. It will permit the construction of a building with a massing and design that is typical in a downtown context. It will facilitate an appropriate development with adequate parking. It contributes to an active pedestrian and human-scale development and contributes to a continuous street wall along Pelham Street. These applications are granted without prejudice to any other application in the town of Pelham. The Committee of Adjustment considered the written and oral comments and agrees with the minor variance report analysis and recommendation that this application meets the Planning Act test for minor variance. So there's a few conditions: obtain a building permit, enter into an amending site plan agreement, obtain approval for a driveway entrance and culvert permit if applicable, and obtain approval for a temporary works permit if applicable.
I second.
Okay, thank you. That is approved, and we can move to the next file number, which is A35 415 Sumbler Road.
Thank you. So for the matter that passed, for a formal vote on the matter, all are in favor?
Oh, I'm in favor, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so proceeding with our next presentation. It relates to file A35 2024P, being 415 Sumbler Road. Excerpts from the planning report. The subject land is located on the north side of Sumbler Road, lying east of Poth Street, municipally known as 415 Sumbler Road, Pelham. The application seeks relief from the following. Section 5.14 Zone requirements for building and structures accessory to a single detached dwelling on an existing vacant lot of record. Maximum lot coverage. To permit a maximum lot coverage of 2.55% for accessory structures, whereas the bylaw permits a maximum lot coverage of 1%. The following comments have been received from the Building Division. See condition. No public comments were received at the time of writing this report. Minor variance test 1. The variance is minor in nature. Yes. No negative impacts are anticipated on adjacent properties in terms of drainage, visual impacts, or with respect to the ability of the site to maintain adequate land area for private servicing. Test 2. Is the variance desirable for the development or use of land? Yes. It will facilitate an additional accessory building for storage, which is an appropriate development for the site. 3. Does the variance maintain the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw? Yes. The intent of the maximum lot coverage provision of the bylaw is to maintain adequate space for landscaping, leisure, drainage, and private servicing to maintain compatibility and ensure protection of health and the environment. The increase in lot coverage for accessory structures is not anticipated to have any negative impact on space for landscaping, leisure, drainage, or private servicing. Test 4. Does the variance maintain the general intent and purpose of the official plan? Yes. The proposal is generally consistent in built form, scale, and massing with existing development and character of the area. Based on the analysis, staff is of the opinion the variance is minor in nature, conforms to the general policies and intent of both the official plan and zoning bylaw, and is appropriate for the development and use of the land. Planning staff recommend that application number A35 2024P be approved subject to the following condition. All necessary building permits are obtained prior to construction commencing to the satisfaction of the chief building official.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone here on behalf of the applicant?
Through you,
Anyone
Mr.
online?
Chair. I do believe we have the applicant, Mr. Janis, online with us.
Okay, if Mr. Janis is Mr. Janis there? Doesn't.
He's just connecting, just a
Okay,
moment.
thank you.
It takes a moment.
I was too quick with my question.
Okay, Mr. Janis has joined us.
Hi, Mr. Janis, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yeah, thank you for joining us. We are at the point of the meeting where you're welcome to provide any comments to the committee about your application.
Okay, through the chair. We're a family of four and, we love the outdoors. So we have a lot of, leisure equipment, snowmobiles, ATVs, lawn tractors, bobcat for, snow removal, lawn tractor. We have 2 boats, jet skis. We have 3 daily driver vehicles and 3 classic cars. The boat and 2 of the classic cars are stored off-site where we pay approximately $1,800 a year for storage, and all our other equipment basically sits outside. So, the reason for the building is for storage so we could house all the equipment. I can maintain it as it should be. And that's, I don't know what else to say about it, but.
Yeah, thank you for those comments. Are there any questions or comments to Mr. Janis from the committee?
Are you, I just have one question. Are you proposing to extend the driveway through to this proposed shed on the back of the property?
Yes, we are.
Thank you. Those are my questions. Thank you.
I have no questions.
Okay, I don't have any questions either, so I appreciate your comments, and yeah, thank you for joining us. Are there anyone else in the room or online that wishes to speak to this matter?
Okay, we
look
don't
like
have
it.
anyone online.
Okay, any emails received?
Through you, Mr. Chair, it's 4:37 PM, and we have not received any emails, and we'd be looking for a motion to close the public portion of the meeting and move to committee input.
All forward to close the public part of the meeting.
And I second that motion.
Okay, so we have the public portion of the meeting closed. Any comments or questions from the committee?
I have no questions.
I have no questions.
No, okay, just a short one for me. I think when we look at this application, we look at it comprehensively against the tests under the Planning Act, and I think that in particular, I look at and considered the impact, and what's the impact of having a larger lot coverage for an accessory structure, and I think in this instance, it satisfies that branch of the test. There wouldn't be a negative impact as noted in the comments from staff as well, so I have no concerns supporting this variance. Okay, are we ready for a motion?
I'll forward the motion for file A35-2024P. Application is granted for the following reasons. The variances are minor in nature. No negative impacts are anticipated on adjacent properties in terms of drainage, visual impacts, or with respect to the ability of the site to maintain adequate land area for private servicing. And number 2, the intent of the zoning bylaw is maintained. Number 3, the intent of the official plan is maintained. Number 4, the proposals are desirable for the land as it will facilitate an additional accessory building for storage, which is an appropriate development for this site. Number 5, the application is granted without prejudice to any other application in the town of Pelham. And number 6, the Committee of Adjustment considered the written and oral comments and agrees with the minor variance report analysis and recommendation that this application meets the Planning Act tests for minor variance. The following conditions will apply: that all necessary building permits are obtained prior to construction commencing to the satisfaction of the chief building official. And that's it.
Okay, I will second that. Do you require anything else, as chair, for us to?
Just a formal
Finalize
vote
this, a
on
formal
the
vote?
matter, if all are in favor.
Yes.
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 Okay, Mr. Janis, that concludes your matter. Your variances have been approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
We will move to the next matter, which is 114 Lamenti Drive, file A36.
Thank you. Okay, so for the file reference, day 36, 2024, 114 Lameti Drive, excerpts from the planning report. The subject land is located on the west side of Lameti Drive, lying north of Moody Street, municipally known as 114 Lameti Drive. The applicant seeks relief from Section 10, minimum exterior side yard, to permit a minimum exterior side yard setback of 1.26 meters, whereas the bylaw requires a minimum exterior side yard setback of 3 meters. The following comments have been received. From the Building Division, see condition. Public Works Department, please clarify if existing gate will remain the same. Please submit an updated site plan, complete with details such as the easement, sidewalks, fence, gate, and roadway. Access to private property from municipally owned lands would require a permit should the applicant use town boulevards to access the property. No public comments were received at the time of the report. Minor variance test 1. The variance is minor in nature. Yes. The reduction to the setback is not anticipated to result in a negative impact on the adjacent uses, drainage, streetscape, or substantially remove amenity space on the lot. Is the variance desirable for the development or use of land? Yes. The construction would be in character of the area, which includes residential uses and accessory uses. Test 3. Does the variance maintain the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw? Yes. The intent of the exterior side yard setback is to maintain distance from the street to increase visibility for drivers, allow for appropriate drainage, avoid overdevelopment of lots, and allow for enhanced landscaping along corner lots. The reduction in exterior side yard is set back adequately from the front lot line. Test 4. Does the variance maintain the general intent and purpose of the official plan? Yes. The variance would allow for appropriate development on an existing lot that is consistent with the intent of the official plan. Based on the analysis, staff is of the opinion the variance is minor in nature, conforms to the general policies and intent of both the official plan and zoning bylaw, and is appropriate for the development and use of the land. Planning staff recommend that application number A36 2024P be approved, subject to the following conditions. That the applicant prepare and submit a revised site plan with full details to the satisfaction of the Director of Public Works. That all necessary building permits be acquired prior to construction commencing to the satisfaction of the Chief Building Official.
Okay, thank you. I think we have the applicant here as well, so you're welcome to come forward and speak to this as well.
Well, I've not much to say really, if everything's okay. I presume you all got
And
the
start
letter.
with your name, please. Yeah, thank you, sir, just for the record. Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Chair, excuse me. I presume you've all read the letter that I accompanied with the...
We have that, yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
That's the reason that my wife and I want to do this, because Joshua, my son, is a twin. At the moment, both twins live in the basement, but they access the basement through the house. They're 21 years old, going on 22, and well, especially Joshua needs some responsibility of his own. So we want him to try. He has a cognitive problem from birth. So a brain works in 3 different ways, basically: processing, communication, and coding thoughts and memory. Well, his brain does not work in any of those 3 areas. If you met him, you would think he's just a normal kid, but he's not. And he doesn't read, he doesn't write, he's terrible with money. So somebody will always have to look after his finances, and I doubt very much whether he'll ever really be able to live on his own. But we'd like to give him some independence, so he can come in and out as he requires. He can have friends over without disturbing the rest of the household. And that's our reason for wanting to do this. I know the reason.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for those comments. Any questions from the committee?
I have no questions, thank you.
Oh, can I just say one thing? The questions that were asked along the way there, which I got through last Thursday, the gateway is not going to be changed. So what you see on the drawing that I presume you've all got is exactly as it will stay. The stairway will be inside the property. Nobody will see that. The drawings I've already spoke to Jodie about. We'll get the updated drawings once I know exactly what you're looking for. Jodie's going to send me some details tomorrow. What was the third one? Or was that it?
Obtaining the building permit?
No, the third one's not applicable because it was entering the property off the boulevard, which we're not going to do.
Right. Okay, so I think so just so I understand as well, so the gate, the fence and the gate will stay, that's the
Exactly.
intention, I see.
Yes.
And you have no problem submitting the site plan, which I think that's what you're referring to, that's the
That's fine.
term that we used as well for that. Okay, that's very helpful, so thank you for those comments. I don't have anything additional in terms of
Okay.
comments, or any comments from the committee based on those? No.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Signing out. Thank you.
Is there anyone else online, or I don't think there's anyone in the room that would like to speak to this?
Well, Mr. Chair, we also do not have anyone online.
Okay, any emails received?
Emails. I can confirm that it is 4:47 PM, and we have received no emails, and therefore we would be looking for a motion to close the public portion and move to committee input.
Motion to close the public portion of the meeting?
I second.
Okay, any questions, comments on this application? Okay, just a very brief one from me. I think that something that was, when I look at this, we look at the tests under the Planning Act, you know, in terms of the four-part test that was presented during the meeting today. Something that stuck out to me as well from the planning test was the setback that would be required if this wasn't a corner lot. And it would, you know, there was a mention of this in Mr. Edwards' report, that it would comply with the setback, except that it's a corner lot. So the reason, there's a rationale behind having a different setback for a corner lot, but I think that's achieved here, in particular, given that there's a fence and that I don't think there'll really be any visual or very limited visual impact from having an entrance, a side entrance there as well with the stairs. So in my view, this application meets the test, and I have no concern with supporting the variances on that basis. So with that, is there any motion?
Yes, I can do the motion. So file A36, 2024, for 114 Lametti Drive. Application for a minor variance to permit a minimum exterior side yard of 1.25 meters is granted. The variances are minor in nature, as the reduction to the setback is not anticipated to result in a negative impact on the adjacent uses, drainage, the streetscape, or substantially remove amenity space on the lot. The intent of the zoning bylaw is maintained. The intent of the official plan is maintained. The proposals are desirable, as the construction would be in character of the area, which include residential uses. This application is granted without prejudice to any other application in the town of Pelham. The Committee of Adjustment considered the written and oral comments and agrees with the minor variance report analysis and recommendation that this application meets the Planning Act test for a minor variance. The conditions are to obtain all necessary building permits and submit a revised site plan with full details to Public Works.
Just a point of order. I think I heard you say a side yard setback of 1.25 meters. 1.26 meters. Okay, so I'm happy to second that on that basis. I think that's what was intended.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So do we need a vote as well on that?
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
okay, so I vote in favor of this.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So that's carried. So your variance is approved, and we can move to the next matter, the last one on our agenda, which is a consent on Canberra Road, file B16.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so file B16, 2024, 904 Canberra Road. Application is made for consent to convey 2,023.4 square meters of land, being Part 1, to be added to the abutting property to the south, Part 3, 905 Canberra Road, for the purpose of providing adequate land area for the future replacement of the existing septic system contained on Part 3. Part 2, being 889 Canberra Road, is to be retained for continued agricultural residential use of the property known as 889 Canberra Road.
Just a point of clarity, it is 905 Canberra Road as opposed to 904 Canberra Road.
To date, the following comments have been received. Building Division, The building department has no comments or conditions at this time. Public Works, C condition, a construction of new or modification of existing driveways requires a driveway entrance permit. This permit is obtained through the Public Works Department, and all associated costs are the responsibility of the owner. And C condition. Niagara Region, the proposal is generally consistent with the provincial policy statement and does not conflict with the provincial and regional policies pertaining to consents in specialty crop areas. As such, Regional Public Works, Growth Management, and Planning Division staff offer no objection to the application, provided the town is satisfied that the boundary adjustment qualifies for legal or technical reasons and subject to the committee ensuring that the subject land, being Part 1, merges in title with the abutting property, being Part 3, and no public comments were received at the time of writing the report. Planning staff are of the opinion that application number B16 2024P be approved subject to the following conditions. That the applicant merge Part 1 on title with Part 3, provide the Secretary Treasurer with a registerable legal description of the subject parcel, together with a copy of the deposited reference plan, if applicable, for use in the issuance of a certificate of consent. Provide the final certification fee of $436, payable to the Treasurer, Town of Pelham, submitted to the Secretary Treasurer. All costs associated with fulfilling conditions of consent shall be borne by the applicant, and that the applicant confirm that no existing utilities currently cross the proposed new property line. Should any services cross this property line, the applicant is responsible for costs associated with relocation and/or removal. And to you, Mr. Chair, I believe the applicants are here with us today.
Yeah, thank you. If you'd like to speak to this, yeah, you're welcome to come on forward and start with your name. Yeah, thank you.
My name's Lisa Scalaro. I'm acting as an agent for the owners of 889 Cambro. I really don't have any comment. We're the current owners of 905, so we're looking to append this to our property, as it says, for potential upgrades to our septic system in the future if ever needed.
Yeah, thank you. Any comments, questions?
I have no questions or comments. Thank you.
I have no questions or comments. Thank you.
Yeah, I enjoyed reading this from kind of a technical perspective, and it's not often that you get you get consents to merge title in the Greenbelt area, especially crop area, but I see how this fits the exception. But I was curious about the timing of the septic system, and I didn't quite follow that component as well. Because it looks like the consent is triggered by the need to, at some point, replace the septic system. So I was just curious if you could, if you know anything about that, about the timing or expectations.
Yeah, so we did have a septic inspection and everything's functioning. It's completely fine. There's no issues at all. But our lot is undersized at half an acre. So the consensus was basically now it's a full acre that's required for septic. And if we ever did need to replace it, we didn't have the room to do so. So it's just kind of pre-planning. There's nothing in the works for a replacement since everything is working.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. No other comments or questions from anything that arose from my comments. No. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public? I don't see there's nobody else in the room, but anyone online?
Mr. Chair, we do not have anyone online.
Okay. Any emails?
So I can confirm that it is 4:56 p.m. And we have not received any emails, and therefore looking for a motion to close the public portion of the meeting and move to committee input.
I'll close the public portion of the meeting.
And I second the motion.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your comments. All right, any comments or questions from the committee on this application? Okay, just kind of I guess, I don't know if this is the right timing for this question, but when I look at the conditions, the proposed conditions, I don't see one that relates to the utility crossing, something I just picked up on during the presentation today. I wonder if that's something that the committee would consider. Oh, I misread it. Thank you. It is there. Never mind. Okay, no other comments.
I thought you were going to ask about the address. It's 889 905. I just wanted to clarify what the correct address is. I noticed the planning analysis showed 905, and then we have some information for 889, or is it?
So through the chair, the larger parcel that's currently farmed is 889, and the smaller parcel being part, I believe, 1 on the sketch, the residential property is 905.
I see, so when we say merge part 1, they're both 905, okay. So we'll have to just make sure that our decision, I suppose, says that, because the presentation spoke to 905 and the materials did, but this, our decision, our draft decision says 889 Canberra. Okay. Okay, well, those are technical things, but I don't, not substantive comments. Is there a motion relating to this?
I'll forward the motion. File B16-2024P, 905 Canberra Road in Pelham. Application for consent, convey part 1 has been granted. The decision is subject to the following conditions. To the satisfaction of Public Works, number 1, the applicant confirmed that no existing utilities cross the proposed lot lines. Should any services cross these lot lines, the applicant shall be responsible for costs associated with their relocation and/or removal. To the satisfaction of planning, number 1, that the applicant merge Part 1 on title with Part 3. To the satisfaction of the Secretary Treasurer, number 1, provide a registerable legal description and deposited reference plan. Number 2, provide final certification fee of $436. This decision is based on the following reasons. Number 1, the application conforms to and complies with the town official plan, regional policy plan, and provincial policy statement, town zoning bylaw. Number 2, this decision is rendered having regard to sections 5124 and 5125 of the Planning Act. And number 3, the committee considered all written and oral submissions and finds that subject to these conditions, this application meets the Planning Act criteria, is consistent, and complies with provincial, regional, and town planning policy.
And I second that motion.
All in favor?
Yes.
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 Thank you.
Okay, that's carried. So the consent has been provisionally granted. And then that wraps up the item agenda, taking us to the minutes of approval. Is there a motion to approve the September 3rd, 2024 minutes?
Motion to approve the September 2024 minutes.
I second.
Okay, motion to adjourn. I will move that. Is there a seconder to adjourn?
I second that motion to
Thank you.
adjourn the meeting.
Thank you. It is 5:00 p.m.